Welcome to What's Your Toxic, where you sit with two certified life coaches that help you identify and navigate toxic behaviors.
This podcast is a place to promote self-awareness, personal growth, some spiritual shit, and healing.
We take a modern, humorous approach to working through the negative and hard conversations that most people avoid.
If you know that life can get real fucking messy, come sit with us and we'll be toxic together.
Hi guys, welcome back. We're super excited to have you. Oh, do it again.
So obnoxious.
My favorite.
I know. Where's your buttons?
In my garage because I forgot to get batteries for them.
Well, we're gonna work on that.
Okay, we're gonna go.
Anyway,
I got flags though.
I know. They came in on time. Good thing I didn't have to pay for like overnight. Can you imagine? Woo!
Toxic as fuck.
All right.
Oh,
Let's jump right in.
we're gonna jump right into building a relationship with self.
Yeah.
How'd you do it?
I'm still doing it.
Okay, how are you doing it?
Whew.
Jasper's an astrology person.
Yes.
Yes. Which may not be a tool for everyone, but
I see everything as a tool.
I think it's a good start.
Well, how I started was just bringing that awareness to myself about myself. Got my ass into therapy because I couldn't rationalize my thoughts. And that was the beginning of it, right? And just sitting with myself and my feelings. I didn't know how to be vulnerable. I thought I viewed vulnerability as weakness. And I was like,
Yeah.
fuck this. Because I'm used to always being the strong one.
I'm the strong one. I'm not nervous.
Like, I don't know that song.
You're gonna watch Encanto.
Oh, I did watch that movie.
There you go. It's the strong girl. And she carries like the buildings and she carries like the weight of her whole family.
Yeah, see?
Red flag. Don't do that.
Yeah, so I was used to being the strong one, not only within like my family, but also with friends. Like I'm always the grounded one that everybody like dumped their shit onto. And like, I just processed my emotions internally and I don't let it out. And so being vulnerable, I struggled with, and I had to work through each stage of it, right? And just like really getting really honest about myself, my flaws, and like trying to like work through them and dig deeper. Like, why do I do this? Why do I show up in this way? What am I getting out of this? Why do I react this way? And there's a lot of whys in my actions and my human behaviors. And why am I allowing these things to happen, right? That could also be like cultural stuff to be background because I didn't learn about boundaries. I don't know what the fuck they were at that time, My family, we don't talk about shit. So.
Oh yeah, that's a hard one. Like if you're not modeled how to talk about things. And my family, we just pretend it never happened.
Same. We don't talk about nothing happened.
Something bad will happen and then we're just like, a couple hours pass and somebody's like, hey, do you want to go do this? Do you want to go get food? Do you want to? And you're like, I mean, yeah, I think so.
So yeah,
I don't know.
To cope differently and like, so me trying to build that relationship with self was really hard. Like I've always been pretty self-aware, but not like how I am now.
Yeah.
Like I've always been aware of certain things, like maybe the most surface stuff.
Right.
But I'm like super self-aware now, like how I show up in the world, how my actions might dictate a certain situation or whatever I say might hurt people's feelings. And, and you're just really reading people and learning that aspect of how to talk to people. Some people are ready for stuff. Some people are not. Like I'm still a work in progress.
Yeah.
Relationship with self. But for me, where I learned the most was through my romantic relationships. In my chart. That's my toxic trait. It's in my chart.
It is in your chart.
And that's the thing. So astrology. So I used astrology and I was dissecting it. And I was just like watching videos. I was reading about it. And as I was reading about it, I was like,
is this play about me?
Right? Like, what the fuck? Like it all makes sense, right? And even if it doesn't make sense, and that's the thing, when you're reading or hearing this shit about like your chart and your placements or whatever else may be, you're gonna have some resistance because you don't want to acknowledge it and you don't want to be honest and like own up to that part yet because you're not ready, right? And that's okay. There comes a time and a place when it'll show up and you'll be like, okay, now let's look at this, right?
Of course, the way that you just did that, like I have to just say, so the spiritual realm is my jam. I'm much more comfortable with that than dealing with like the day-to-day stuff.
Mm.
Like I spend a lot of time in my upper chakras, which is so much nicer than being on Earth.
Earth is ghetto.
Earth is ghetto. But you know, like somebody who really has always been, well, first of all, I was raised in a spiritual house, so like that has a lot to do with it. But somebody that's always been like, okay, but this isn't all there is, and there's more to it, and there's bigger concepts, and there's bigger things in us that there's like this concept of the spiral, right? You start your journey in one dot, and then as you go around the spiral, you realize that you pass that dot all the time at different points. And every layer is like, you're like, oh, I conquered this thing. I know that I have attachment issues. And you might go around it for a couple of times, like months, years, weeks, whatever the time may be. And you're like, oh, I'm doing so good with this. And then something hits and you have to reevaluate it from a different perspective at a deeper level. And you keep going. And I think all the spiritual modalities are actually like that. So like astrology, human design, all those things. I think people get really into it and they're like, oh, I'm a sun. I'm an Aries sun and I'm a Leo moon and blah, blah, blah. And that's great. But if you look at those other aspects in the chart, like it gets deeper into, okay, maybe these are some things about myself that I haven't really thought on and I haven't really embraced yet. And it's like a little roadmap. It's like another cheat code.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I use it as a tool to really like identify certain parts of my personality or my behaviors, right? And like, even though it's written in the stars for you, like I still believe you can still not like alter it or change it, but you can obviously, how do I say it? Like, you can always reframe it in a good way, right? Like, so so Taylor and I have a lot of Scorpio placements, and a lot of people think Scorpios are fucking toxic as fuck.
Which is where our whole running joke came from.
Yeah.
But we figured we'll do something good with it.
Yeah, and for me, like going back to like I learned a lot from my like romantic relationships, and a lot of my Scorpio placements back then was really fucking toxic, and I had to work through that. And now I'm very aware of it. So when it's coming up, I have to either redirect it or like really process it before I'm like gonna be toxic to the person that I'm with, you know? And that's exhausting.
Yeah.
Because, because for the longest, I've always thought about like Scorpios are very emotional people and we react off emotion, right? And so it makes sense. Like for me back then, I would have these outbursts of like emotions, and I'm like, okay, we're not doing that anymore. Like,
Yeah.
regulate this shit because like that's me operating from whatever the fuck I was feeling. Could be my inner child, could be anything, being wounded and whatever the fuck may be. And that on its own, it took me a while to be aware of like where the pain was coming from. And if people don't know this, like Scorpios are very deep. Okay. Like we go into the fucking deep darkness. Like we've been through it all. Like nothing phases me. I don't know about you, but nothing ever anybody can say
anymore.
I'm just like, okay, like I've been there, like, And like on top of that, if you're into like numerology, like I'm a life path 9, which means like I've gone through pretty much 1 through 8. So for me, I'm just like I don't care what you do, as long as you don't like hurt me, hurt yourself, hurt others. But if you do that, like obviously that's your story, that journey that you have to go through. What I've learned the most now is I can only be here to support people through shit. I'm not here to fix your shit, but I'm here if you're going to fall.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm going to have to let you fall, but I'll still sit there with you at that deep end because I've been there.
A little life vest or like a little buoy. Like I'll sit here with you. But at some point, you got to get your own ass back to shore. We're having a water theme today. First was the Titanic. Now there's buoys and deep waters.
Is there Scorpio? What Scorpio's about water placement?
Yeah. Maybe it's because we're in Cancer season.
And I'm emotional right now. And I don't do well with that.
No, me either. But that's something to recognize, right? And like that's something that comes up a lot. Like if people are like, "Hey, let's talk about this," and I'll be like, "I need a second. Like I need to sit with it for a minute." Instead of just popping off with like somebody said something to you, and that's a big thing that I do. Somebody will say something and I just pop off with like, you want to fight about it? Let's fucking fight about it. Let's have a fight now. Let's have an argument because it's much what
Oh yeah.
toxic. Well, it is, but that's for years and years, for pretty much like my first 24 years of life, I would say. That was the response. You know, as a kid, I was the kid that was always fighting. I was the kid that was always in trouble with something. I was the kid that always something would happen and it would be minor, and I'd be like, "You want to fucking fight about it?"
So you're
And
being
everyone was
really
like,
reactive.
"Yeah," and everyone was like, "What is your problem?" Um, and I had a really bad episode in college. There were a couple, but like there were a couple bar fights and some house party fights and whatever. But there was one where I beat the shit out of somebody that did not deserve it. Don't look at me like that. I thought we were owning things.
Oh, I am. I'm just really surprised. That's my
Okay, but you see, like for you to be like, "Oh, I'm surprised about that at you," like that's good for me because that lets me know that like everything that I've been trying to step away from, like not being in such a reactive space, not being a physically violent person, I don't want to be that person. And I sure as fuck more than anything do not want that to translate over into my kid. I don't want her to be violent. I don't want her to be reactive. I would never want her to think that she grew up in a violent home, things like that. And so like had to get really real about it. Really, really real about it. And like in like the spiritual world, it's like the dark night of the soul and all of that. But like I had to get really honest with, is that something that I want to carry over? And now with you guys, like you guys are always like, "Really? You did? Huh. Don't see that. Good. That's not what I want to put out into the world. It's not what I want to put out onto other people." So recognizing those things, I think, and how do you combat that? What do you need when you feel those old patterns rising, when you feel that urge to come up and you have to sit, and I have to sit a lot and be like,
We sit a lot.
we sit a lot.
We sit a lot in our shit in the darkness.
But you have to, because if you don't, how are you going to transmute it? How are you going to figure it out? How are you going to move past any of that?
And I think that's why it goes back into like working that relationship with yourself to build that acknowledgement, to be brutally honest with yourself and be like, this is how I used to act. I don't want to be that person anymore. So what can I do to change that? What can I do to show up better as a parent, as a partner, as a person, as a friend?
Yep.
But most of all, how do you want to show up for yourself, where you can
Yep.
love yourself, own all parts of you, the good and the bad? And you can't do that if you don't ever sit in your shit, like into the darkness. Because you can't be love and light.
I hate that saying. I hate that saying so much.
That's why I keep saying it.
You do it to antagonize me. It's a stupid saying.
But you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't be always like upbeat, bright, because you're hiding now. You're hiding and you're continuing to suppress all the negativity. And that also shows up in your body if you aren't aware. Like,
Oh yeah.
everything else that you're suppressing, your feelings, it stays in your body, and that will end up showing up as illnesses and blah blah blah. So you have to find outlets, and a lot of that is just taking accountability for your toxic traits, toxic behaviors. You know, deal head on with like things that you used to do that was bad or good, or too much good is also bad, right? So it's like you have to look at everything in your life to build this relationship with yourself, right?
Yeah.
And for some people, you're able to do that just by yourself. But someone like me, I have to learn that through my relationship, romantic or friendships, right? And that in itself is hard to look at too, how you show, because now there's more than one person involved. So that's even harder to really like dissect that. And but I think that's why, like, for me, I'm consistently trying to like So my thing is called self-mastery. Like I just really want to master myself to be the best version of myself. But don't do it too much though, because if you do it too much, that's bad too, right? Like, you know,
Well,
like we
it's
can
that balance piece.
yeah. And we
Or
have
like, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well, like when you were talking about like, this is, the place where I don't want to be anymore, but like you can bring that into balance, right? So you were talking previously about how like you were such a workaholic and you were always on the go because you were being distracted. But now you build in those rest days and stuff, but you also know, hey, if I have a big project, if I really have to get something done, if I really need to do these things, you can bring that back, right? You can focus on it with that discipline and that work ethic and find a good middle ground with it. And I think that's the point that we're really trying to make with this podcast is like, yeah, you might have like toxic traits, right? We all have something toxic about us.
I'll do, yeah.
Yeah, all of us, and we all have a lot. So there's that. But how can you use those? How do you work with those? Where could you find places where it's not really as toxic as you're making it? Like when you use it in moderation or when you do those things, or honestly, that's where my shirt came from. Like with all my fighting and all the stuff I used to do. I don't do it anymore. I really don't. But
you're triggered and
yeah, if push really comes to shove, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. You want to fuck around and find out. But I'm not going to do that on my own anymore. I don't go looking for it. I don't do that. But like I also, maybe that's a toxic trait in itself, but I also know like somebody's talking shit, somebody has an issue, somebody's running their mouth. I'm good. I'm really good. I'm okay. Like I will sit back and life is good. You do what you have to do. But like if you're going to come over and you're going to antagonize or you're going to push or you're going to keep pushing the issue, I'm also good. Because I know who's going to win and it's going to be me. And not like obviously not just in a fighting sense, but like, with Bear, when I had Kara, left my ex, left our house, left my job, moved across the country. He went to jail. Do you know how much debt I had because our shit was tied up together? Our names were together. Our credit cards were together. I left with absolutely nothing. Didn't have a car. He totaled my car. Didn't have credit because we're upside down in a house now that I can't afford. Like, it was so bad. I literally had nothing. Not a penny to my name. And I'm good. Like, I've been through worse. I'm going to be okay. And I think that's something when you're really getting like in that space of getting to know yourself, like you've survived. What's that saying? You've survived 100% of your bad days.
Yeah.
Like those kinds of things. And like, if I ever feel it stressing out or like if I feel any of those old patterns coming up, like those are obviously mine specific to me. But if I'm ever like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do about money? Or what am I going to do about this? Or what am I going to, I've already been there. I've already done it. It can't get any worse. You're going to be okay. So like just sitting in that state of knowing yourself, like I know I would find a way. You can get stuff done, like whatever the case may be. I think looking in that introspective lens gives you perspective for the future because you're going to be okay. You've already done it. And once you start looking back, like the whole point is growth. So like you started at this really bad spot. Look at how far you've come. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Yeah.
See how much growth you've done. And a lot of that too in your story, it's like the experience. So life is all about the experience and applying those experiences, acknowledging those experiences. Because some people go through life with experience and don't even apply shit because they're like, oh, fucking no.
Or have you ever, I think everybody knows somebody like this, like somebody that never left your hometown or whatever, which is not a bad thing in itself, but I'm just throwing it in there. And you look back or like you see them on Facebook or they reconnect and you're like, you're still doing the same exact thing you were doing 10 years ago with the same exact problems, right? Like if you're happy living in your hometown and you have a good job and all of that, like that's not what I'm applying this to. But those people that are like, oh, I still can't figure this out and I still have bad luck and I still can't get the job and I still can't move forward. And you're like,
that's the woe is me thing, the victim.
Yeah. And you're like, bro, you've been here for how long? Doing the same thing?
Yeah. And that's hard. Push it into the water.
I have.
Oh, fuck.
I had to open my package.
We really need to cut people off. And that's true. I mean, there's like, okay, to each their own. You do you, boo. I don't give a fuck. Because your life doesn't impact mine in that sense, right? But yeah, I've seen people that stay in the same city, same state, going through the checklist, and that's fine if they're perfectly happy.
Yeah. I think that's a big like disclosing statement. If that works for you, then that's great. We're talking about the people that are still miserable, still understanding like, why can't I get ahead? Or the people that think that everyone's out to get them. Oh, well, I would have been this, right? I think we all know one. I would have gone and like, it starts young. I would have gone pro, but I couldn't. I would have gone to the military, but like, I couldn't do that. I would have had that job, but the guy had some problem with me. Like, just, those people that it's always somebody else's fault that they can't get anywhere.
There's so much to that with it. So okay, this is how my brain works, people. Even like if Taylor's telling stories and stuff, like my brain works differently.
He just goes.
No, my brain's always just fucking going. And like that's the thing too, though. I feel like people need to work on self in the sense of like if you have those narratives,
yeah.
some people keep a narrative. If they keep that narrative, like I could have been the whatever star athlete, and it's like, okay, but you're like 30 now, like what? Like right.
And I still know them. And I'm like, why is that a thing?
Yeah, and that's the thing. They it's that attachment to that like highlight of their life, and they can't let go. And it's like, so what Taylor and I are going through right now, we're like shedding multiple layers of ourselves and like basically leaving our old selves behind right now. And it's hard. It's like a weird grief.
It is uncomfortable as fuck.
And you grieve your old versions of yourself.
Yeah.
What you used to be, what you used to know, but that's a part of life. As hard as it is for me, like I find beauty in that because now we're stepping into our purpose. Now we're stepping into who we're meant to be in this lifetime.
But that's because, like you were saying, that's because we shifted that narrative. It's not, I'm losing X, Y, and Z. I'm leaving all of this behind. I can never come back. It's not that victimhood mentality. It's this part. I was telling you last night, this part sucks.
It does.
Some of the parts that I'm in right now really suck. But I know it. I know that on the other side of it, things are going to get so much better because as you have that growth and that progression, like you can only go up. And if you're doing it for the right reasons and following where you think that you're meant to be, building your dream, taking a really exciting opportunity. I mean, you can't take everybody with you on those journeys, and it's okay to grieve that. Oh, I can't see it. Yes. Yes. That's why I took my background off because you guys couldn't see our flags. But now you can just see that I recorded my closet. So, yes. It's uncomfortable, but it can be expansive and it can be exciting if you let it.
And that's if you want growth for yourself. Not everybody wants growth, and I know that. So if that's not what you want, you're probably not going to listen to this, right? Because you're not ready. You're just not fucking ready, and that's fine, right? Not everybody. And that's the thing. This is how, in my brain, how the world works. There's always those kind of people because we need those people to learn from. Everybody we learn from. Every situation, experiences, places, people, places, things, right? Like we all learn from that.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in like everybody has a role in your story. And like sometimes you turn around and you're like, I wanted you to be that person for me, but you're doing it with somebody else, like a friend or a family member or whatever the case is. And you're like, that's what I wanted from you. And you didn't get it. And that's okay. And then they're a lesson. And then you see them going out and doing something with somebody else. And you're like, could do it for them. Like, why? But that's where they were on their path. That's what it was for you. That's how they were meant to interact with you for your growth. And then you have no idea what happened after you guys like parted ways or you left that job or you did you have no idea what happened. Yeah. And they went through their own thing too.
And that's the thing too, right? Practicing that like detachment from when things end. I know it's hard.
Big sad.
That part sucks.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. And I get that. But when you practice like detachment from like those stories and things like that, you grow and you're able to shift your perspective even more. A lot of it, I think, in life has to do with perspective and how we see
Yeah.
it. And if you don't see it, the universe will make you see that shit.
But not toxically positive, not toxic positivity, not everything is great and fine and I'm having the worst time of my life, but we're just not going to talk about it.
But we also need those kind of people.
I don't need those kind of people. You will find those kind of people.
No. I'm saying like I don't need them personally, but we need those kind of people to base off of our learning experience.
Oh, yes.
And I can sit here and be like, yeah, we don't do the love and light shit. You know, like those kind of people, not my people. That's how we learn who our people are, right? And who you gravitate towards.
Not my people. Yes.
Free my people. You know? You know what I mean? Like, and that also builds your relationship with self because these are all experiences and we all need some kind of like mirrored relationship or relationship that we can witness to be like, yeah, that's not for me. I don't like that.
Right.
So I want to be that. Or I do like that and I appreciate that. How can I be more like that? Right? So people all have different kinds of traits, good and bad, whatever, right?
Right.
Human, we're all, you know, we're work in progress. Some people are stagnant, some people are always on the go. But like you said, it's all about balance. But you got to find that balance for you, though.
Yeah, your balance doesn't look like anybody else's balance.
Your journey, your success story, your failures, all doesn't look like anybody else's. This is your own story. You are the author. You get to narrate it however the fuck you want. So if you're going to keep telling yourself the same story, you're not going to get anywhere.
Ever.
Right? And if you want more for yourself, you're going to be more, do more, and write, you know, you're going to write that out. Yeah. And then if you feel like you're not deserving of X, Y, and Z, that's something to look at because I feel like we all deserve everything we ever fucking wanted in this world.
If it's calling you, it is for you. That's important to know, I think.
And what is that one saying? Like, if it is meant for you, you'll never like miss that opportunity.
Yep. Can't miss what's meant for you or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think that you do. Like, I know people, like, I really don't think you can miss it. I know people that come full circle. Like, I've had, you know, family members in their 50s be like, I always wanted to do this and I never got the chance. And here it is. Okay, because you were supposed to do it now. Or, you know, just different things like that are people, even with what I do now. I wanted to do this when I was way younger and I didn't think that I could. And then I went to school and I got all my degrees. And then I was a teacher for 7 years. And I was like, well, how would I ever leave that now? But I'm back doing things that I wanted to be doing. I mean, or like, you know, you hear those love stories of this was my high school sweetheart and we both went away and we got married and we both had kids, but we came together when we were 52 and spent the rest of our lives together. I mean, there's just so many different ways for it to play out. Like, you're not going to miss it if it's meant to be yours.
Exactly. Everything we go through, every people we meet, they're all meant for us, good or bad, good and bad. I mean,
maybe that's a toxic trait I have because when things happen and I cope with it with like, well, it wasn't my time. It wasn't meant for me right now. Maybe it'll come back. I don't know.
What's that one saying? Right time, wrong person kind of thing, or wrong person, right time, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, right time or right person, wrong time.
But that's not true.
Right. Because they were who you needed them to be. I have a fly in my closet that I hope you guys can't see.
No, I can't see it. But that's the thing, right? Like everybody we meet at a certain time in our life, it's all supposed to happen. Trust the timing of your life.
Easier said than done, but yes.
But if you work at it, it becomes easier.
It does. But I really thought by 28, I was going to be, well, I would have finished my PhD by now if I had kept on the path that I was on. I really thought about that by like 28, I was going to have my PhD and own a home and be taking vacations. And I really thought I was going to have like 2 or 3 kids by now, probably. Just like, you know, that real cookie cutter stuff. That's what I thought I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
No. Needless to say, no. It's not how that worked. I'm not married, didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It
That's
is.
the timing of your life. I
That's
didn't
the
get it.
best phrase I've ever like learned during coaching. It's that's okay. It hit me really hard. It's just what was that, 2 words?
Yeah.
Actually 3. It's and that's okay. Following up with and that's okay. It like really helped me like move through a lot of things.
Yeah. I've actually used it a lot too. Have a really bad day, but been like, I didn't do anything today. This is all I fucking did today. This is all I got done. And that's okay.
Yeah. It's like 3 powerful words.
You can only do what you can do.
And if you want to, you will.
You hit me with it. Yeah.
It's true. If you ever look back in your life, I know I've looked back in my life. If I truly wanted something, I fucking went out of my way and made it work, got it. I don't know where the drive, ambition, anything that came from. I fucking got shit done because I really wanted it that bad enough. If you truly don't want something bad enough, you're not going to show up for it at all. You're not going to have energy for it at all.
Well, or like you hear, business success stories where they're like, I was working 2 jobs. I was working a full-time job. I was a single mom. And they're like, and I was up early. I was up early before my kids were up, or I was working on my stuff in between shifts, or I was using my lunch break. And like, not to perpetuate like that hustle culture, because that's not the lens I'm looking at it through. Cause like hustle culture, bad. We don't do that.
Toxic.
That's actually toxic. Yeah. Flag on that one. But staying motivated to build the life that you want, that you think is for you, that's great. That's where that's at. Like if you wanted to, you would.
Lean into like joy and excitement. Shit that scares you the fucking most.
Run at what scares you and know that like the universe has your back. When you're out there doing what brings you joy, when you're out there doing things that make you happy, when you're out there and like, I think now it's really hard to not get caught up in, how many artists in the world would we have? How many artists and musicians would we have if we didn't have to get so caught up in the money aspect? And I know that gets complicated. I know we all have to eat. We all have to have food on the table. But really, if you think about it, if you could do anything and it didn't come down to money, like what makes you the happiest? And how can you build that into your life? Because that's where all of your magic is. That's where that motivation, the inspiration, the creativity, like it all stems from that, I think.
Have it.
Yes.
Yeah, because like, so I think money, relationship with self, that's a whole other topic. Because working through money, relationship with self is something that I'm still working on, and I struggle a lot with that.
Me
right?
too.
And like going back to like what you were saying too, like I was gonna mention that like everything that we're saying is based off of our own experiences where we already kind of worked through it. So if you're going through certain things that we're saying, know that we know that it's not easy and there's a lot of self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
That narrative, like, what if I can't? What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not ready? What if I'm blah blah blah? We know. That's common. I don't want to say the word normal. I don't like the word normal, so I say common. So all that you're thinking, worried, fear, all that is very common. But if you really think about the last time you truly wanted something, all did not exist.
Right.
And if you're going to sit here and be like, but I have this, or I have this situation, or blah, blah, those are excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, regardless you want to admit to that or not, those are fucking excuses, and you're finding a way out not to do it.
Yeah. Well, I would really like to be a millionaire, so
there's so many endless possibilities for that. Yeah. Sugardaddy.com, feet finders, only
feet finder.
Just kidding. But that's the thing though, but we're all programmed to have this like billionaire, millionaire, I can't fucking say that word anymore. Mindset, right? Where like that's being sold to us on social media of like all the cars, the houses, all this, blah. And for the longest, I fell for that because I'm like, I want to be successful like that. I want a fucking Lambo, which I still do, but I want a really fucking big house, which I still kind of do. But at the end of the day, I had to sit with myself and get real honest. Like, what is true happiness for me without tangible things? What does success really look and feel like for me?
Yeah.
My answer to that at the end of the day is being happy and having a fucking family and kids. Weird, right? Coming out of me. Yeah. And it took me a while to get there, to realize like those are things that I actually think will bring me joy.
We just had a moment, guys.
I know.
That was a moment. Wow.
But that's what
I wasn't ready coming from you.
cars, fancy cars, houses, and all that stuff. It's still like a dream of mine, but that's just the aesthetics.
Well,
That's,
I think a lot of those things come from like being comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, Lambo would be cool.
Yeah.
But like being comfortable, like I would like a house to be safe and secure in so that I can go and do these things. I want, like, of course, some of them are luxury items. Like, do you need a Lambo or do you just need a functioning car? You really just need a functioning car, but the Lambo would be nice. But
There's
you
nothing
realize
wrong with that.
no, right, exactly. You realize that that's not going to bring you true happiness, but like you can have luxuries. You can have things that you like and things that you embrace, but it's not chasing those material objects and those things.
I mean, it's in my chart for materialistic things, but like it's my Capricorn side, right? Like, but
is it?
the thing is, I've learned, but that's the thing too. It's your self standard. What standard do you set yourself at, right? How do you view yourself, like realistically, right? Obviously, I still view myself like I think I can grow to be this person here, be successful, be powerful, and I'm working my way there. But that's my set standard. But I'm not trying to be ridiculous, like I'm going to be the next mountain, right? Like,
right.
That's I set my own limit there because of my own potentials and capabilities, And that just
and I had to sit with that a lot too, going through our program. I was like, I don't know, there's still things I want to do. Like I want to get my book done and I want that published. Do I have to be on a New York Times best-selling list for months and months? Like, does it have to? No, not really. Like, it's just something that I want to accomplish for me. And if it helps one person, 100 people, like that's where it is. It's not about, oh, can I just quit my entire job and write books all the time? Like, it doesn't have to be the top of the line, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, I've gotten very comfortable with what do I actually want? And like, what level do I actually need that?
and that's the thing too, like, but also you don't want to just because through time you're like blah blah blah, and so you lower that standard. You don't want to do that either, right?
No.
Because for you to just sit there and say like, if I could just sell one book and change one person's life, and that's just good enough. Really look at that. Like, are you really okay with that?
Well, I mean, I would hope that it would be more, but for me at this point, it really is just a matter of like, for me, can I do it? Can I do it?
You can do anything.
Yeah, but sometimes you want to cross that threshold.
I'm an enabler.
You're the worst. You're the biggest enabler, the biggest hype man. But honestly, I mean, like, yeah, honestly, I would want it to be successful, of course, but what does that success look like? I don't need it to be successful in the way of like, I'm going to quit my job and this one book is going to make me famous and then I'm just going to get like a book tour and I'm not looking for all of that. I'm looking for, can I myself hold myself to going through this process? Because it's actually a lot more work than I fucking thought it was. And can I get it out there for people to read it? Like, obviously, I want people to like it. I want them to read it. I want them to enjoy it. I want to have that feedback off of it. But like, I don't need a world tour for me to consider it successful. I wouldn't publish a book and have people's feedback and then be like, nah, wasn't big enough. We're going harder. Always room for growth. But like, I wouldn't be deterred or feel like I didn't accomplish something if it wasn't that caliber, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Are you going to feel like a life failure if you don't get a Lambo? No. Okay, there you go.
It's more important to me as having a family.
I'm going to let that one sit.
Why?
We're going to talk about that later.
Sometimes it takes meeting the right person for your world to change.
Does it?
I think so.
I don't think that you would have met her if you weren't doing all of the work that you're doing right now.
I believe that. I really do.
And look at how far it's gotten you.
And it's going to continue to grow. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not attaching any expectation or final destinations
Right.
with it. I'm
Right.
just, that's the biggest part for me, is to let it go and let it grow on its own.
Yes.
You know,
I'm so proud of you. I couldn't believe those words came out of your mouth earlier. I was like, what?
And that's the crazy part, right? Sometimes it does take a couple individuals for you to get there, and that's okay.
And that's okay.
You know, and sometimes it does take a special someone for things to shift and make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
You know what I mean?
Or how like I was gonna quit. I was like steady thinking about quitting the last couple of weeks, and I was like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this anymore. And then you meet people that are like, I have no idea where I would be without this, and you're like, wait, really? Really? Like, great that you're helping them, but like, they're helping you in return. You know what I mean?
And that's like, life brings you people, universe, whatever the fuck you want to believe, like, brings you the people at the right time for whatever the next stage steps of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Just like how we talked about this podcast for us both. We're both equal giving and taking. We're both going to learn something major from this, and it's going to highlight the good and bad parts of us to propel us to move forward. Could be a catalyst of things, right?
Is a catalyst of things. Yes.
Yeah. It's like taking the steps, and that's how we level up, because we need these experiences, just like any job, right? You want to move up the ladder, you need your fucking experience. Yeah. And this is the same thing as life. We need the experiences, the right people, even if they're the most fucked up people that hurt you the most. Unfortunately, you needed that.
I was thinking of it as like a little video game, you know, where like you go through something really hard and like just really tough and really hard, and you're like, oh, this sucks. And then you beat like the boss, and you get like all the little experience points that are popping out everywhere.
Yeah.
You get experience, and you get experience. You get experience.
Yeah.
And then you go from there.
And that's the thing too, like, you know, with everything that I'm learning in my current situations, like, okay, I'm knocking on wood on this one, but in case it didn't really work out, but it showed me a different version of myself that I'm capable of loving and wanting those things with someone. And that's right. Because I can't be, it's not that like I don't want to be stuck with just one person, right? Because then, I mean, I want to be, but that idea of that, if I were to be stuck on it and say if it didn't work out, do you know how fucked up that shit would be for me?
Yeah, I've been there, done that. Yeah. Took a long time to get out of it. So yeah.
It's like that. Okay, so like one day that I went off on like Instagram stories, it's because I came across that stupid ass reel. It's like, I really wanted it to be you, but you didn't want it to be me. And I was like,
in the feels.
I was like, oh my God, why did I want to cry? You know?
And then when you come out of it, though, you realize if that person didn't want it to be you, you really didn't want it to be them. You really didn't. You didn't want to have to convince somebody. You didn't want to have to force somebody. You didn't want to have to feel like you were proving your worth. But you don't see all of that until later.
And I don't know, maybe that just like goes into like attachment, abandonment, whatever the case may be, right? As long as you work through that shit. And like, the thing is like, this might fall into like toxic positivity, but that's the way I saw it. It was like, in case it didn't work out, she was meant to be in my life during this time to open this side of me that I didn't realize. And that was something that she will always have. And I will always thank her for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like, and that's like a reframe. But because I could take that and be like, fall into the deep end and be like, why? You know, this fucking bullshit, right? But I just feel like everything in life that happens, there's the good and the bad, and how you learn, how you I don't know, maybe this is my life path where I'm learning how to reframe things into a better, like, for my situation. Right. You know, and letting go those attachments, letting go those expectations, letting go of potentials, just like a lot of shedding. We're shedding a fuck ton right now. Like we're shedding Yeah, I'm fucking exhausted.
I'm tired. Yeah.
I'm just a baby.
I take a nap. I take a nap right here.
And that's the hard part is like letting go of certain relationships. It's fucking hard.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like that one quote. It's like, what is that one quote? It's like basically if you continue to go down with the same person, you're blocking the person that's supposed to be there, like actually be there for you.
Oh, well, yeah. And think about it yeah, for sure. And like when you think about it in terms of like energy and manifestation and all of those other concepts, what are you going to call in? What are you calling in if you're holding on to old stuff? Where the fuck you going to put it?
Like dead weight.
Like I could fit, okay, so at our house, we have a car in the garage and then we have 2 cars in the driveway. I could go and buy a new car. Where the fuck am I going to put it?
Yeah.
I'm going to obsess over having it. And like, you can't cram new pieces around your old life. You just can't. It doesn't work. And if you're like, oh, I want to bring this person with me, but I want to bring this relationship with me or whatever, and it's not fitting around your experiences, and you're like, I should maybe let this go, but I don't want to, or I'm not ready. Where are you going to put it? Where are you going to put that new energy, that new frequency, that new person, that new partner, that new friend?
There's no space for it to even come forward.
None space.
So the moral of the story is out with the old, in with the new. That's so cutthroat, but sometimes it is like that.
Yeah, reconnecting with self is a long process, but I think it's
that relationship with self.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't build the relationship that I've been building with myself for the past couple of years, I probably wouldn't have said the shit that I just said.
No, but I mean, you and I wouldn't be as close as we are either.
True, because we both show up with vulnerabilities and being authentic.
And I don't think you'd be
hard for a lot of people is to be authentic and vulnerable at the same time.
Mic drop.
Yeah, because it's true. You have to be really honest when you're authentic.
Yeah.
Fake your authenticity, then that's a fucking copy.
Yeah, or like lying to yourself.
Yeah, I can't do that. I don't know. That's probably why I can't really manifest as well, because I can't be delusional.
Be delusional. I definitely did it, especially when I was like younger, or like wanting to fit in somewhere and being like, oh yeah, I really like that thing. Yeah, I like that. And you don't. Or I don't know. Like I was that girl when I was younger and I was like, no, I'm chill. I'm fine. I'm the chill friend. I'm fine. I don't get jealous. No, it's great. This and that. That is not true.
Is like fucking jealous as fuck. Like
my Aries and Scorpio placements just looking at me like, this bitch. Yeah, she is not lying. She's just lying to everyone. Yeah, but like, things, even small things like that, or being like, yeah, I'm comfortable with doing this for a little bit, or I'm willing to try it out. Like if you're really not willing to try it out, if you're really not comfortable with something, if you
voice it.
Yeah.
Take up space. We all have a voice.
Use that throat chakra.
That reminds me of whatever we were talking about.
Toxic. No, but I mean, really, like voicing what it is that you want. And like, honestly, especially like when it comes to dating and stuff, when I was getting back into dating and it's like, oh, I don't like X, Y, and Z. And they're like, well, I'm all about that. Okay, well then realistically, where would that go? Where would that go? If you're not voicing all those things, or like I have a friend that really struggles with like, she's completely sober. And so like when she's out on dates and stuff and people are like, well, just go grab a drink. And she's like, I actually don't drink. And they're like, well, just one drink. Yeah, you don't drink either.
I just make it known. I'm like, I don't drink.
But yeah, and that's okay though.
And that's okay. And that's the thing, like, and you'll know if you're around the right people for that will respect you for that. If you have to like, people are like, nah, take a shot. Well, no, not my people. Get the fuck out of my face. I don't have time for that.
Sorry, Jasper.
No. Like, but that's the thing though. Like, I know a time and place.
Yeah.
Even though I don't drink more, like 99% of the time, I do have that 1%. Like, okay, I'll take a shot with you. Because for me, I have a pretty high alcohol tolerance. I could drink a lot. So one shot, I'm fine.
Shot of rock?
think I'm okay too. You know what I mean? Like, but that's me knowing myself.
Yeah,
So
but
here's
being
the
like,
other
none of us would ever force you. Like, that's okay if you're around those people that are like, no, you have to. Don't be a bitch. Da da da. Da. Like, do this, do
Yeah,
this.
no. I do have friends like that, but I do drink, but that's like the once in a blue moon thing. But the thing I wanted to mention when you're building a relationship with self, that self-awareness and body awareness. I know a lot of people don't talk about body awareness, but like
It's
body awareness is very important. Just like the drinking thing. Even though I don't drink, but I know I could probably take like 5 shots and I'll be fine because I know my body enough,
Mhm.
you know? And that all comes with building that relationship with yourself, knowing what you're okay with and what you're not, your limits, know when you can push your limits, know when you're allowing people to push your limits, and knowing that sometimes when people are pushing your limits, it's actually a good thing, not a bad
Get people that push you out of your comfort zone.
thing.
Jasper takes my ass to church often. You do often. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna like tell you this quick little story about how my day is going. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, so I heard you. Do you want to look at where we're going with that? Or are you just sharing right now?
Yeah. And that's a major thing in conversation and relationships of all kind, right? Just be like, do you want advice or you just want to vent?
Yeah.
Just need my support or do you want like something?
Or, you know, like our accountability thing, like you've been much better about showing up with like with your goals as of lately. And I was like, listen, honestly, like I'm leaving for the weekend. I've been gone, whatever. And I was like, and I'm going to do it when we get back.
Yeah.
I'm back as of today. So as of today, at some point we need to start. But like, you know, seeing an accountability partner, I'm like, hey, I see you. I see everything that you're doing. I see where you're going.
Yeah.
And if Jasper doesn't see me doing something, he'll be like, hey,
Are you alive?
yeah, are you alive?
You avoiding me? What's going on?
But for shame. I was trying to get taken by aliens over the weekend, but
No, I was hoping you would. Actually.
yeah, they didn't want me.
I'm that enabling friend. Go beam us all up.
Beam me up. But you know, like having an accountability partner, Jasper's been great. He's been on his shit. So I can tell him and be like, you've been killing it. You've been doing everything that you wanted to do. That's amazing. Finding people that are excited for you. And then having those people that'll be like, hey, you said you really wanted to work on this. How's that going for you? Where are you at though? Is that something you still want to do, or are we readjusting those goals? Like that's a big part. I think
a big part, but also showing up authentically in that part and be like, well, I didn't really do this. Because a lot of people might lie.
Yeah.
If you have accountability partners. They'd be like, you know, some people would want to lie to get you like, well, I kind of looked at it, but really didn't do shit. You know, but it's like, just be honest. Like I fucking didn't do shit. I'm not gonna trip out on you. I'm be like, look, that's cool. That's where you're at. That's fine. Let's try again tomorrow. And that's how I am, you know, because I get it. Every day is different. Some days we feel great and we can take over the world. Some days we just don't. We just want to be a lazy couch potato. That's fine. We need the rest.
No, but finding, you know, again, authenticity, honesty, figuring out what really works for you and how you want to do it, and then
surround yourself with the right people, or even the people that you like. I don't want to say like want to become, but people that have strength or weaknesses.
Yeah, people that are inspirational.
Yeah.
They're going to push you to be better. They want to see you succeed. People that genuinely want to see you succeed, I think is huge.
And that's why I love the collective, because we all want each other to win. There's so much support in that. And we all show up to fight for one another.
Yeah, we did.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Group effort.
It was a group effort. We did good. Maybe we should put that in there, like harmless little plug for us. But Jasper does clothing and design.
Yeah. Design, clothing, embroidery. Anything you think of. Probably. Yeah.
Made our flags for us. Made me some really cool shirts. I do life coaching from a spiritual perspective, though. I'm a lot more focused on the spiritual realm of things. But we are members of the Worldwide Collective, which is an in-person and online networking group and support group for people that are building their businesses, building their dreams, all of that. So when he mentions the collective and like what we do, you can come hang out with us. We have monthly workshops. We have women's ladies night and networking. I do full moon workshops. Kat does like business pop-ups. We have a crypto guy. I mean, really, it's just a space to bond and vibe with everyone. And we genuinely want everyone to win. Like I have found my best friends in there.
Yeah. That's the thing that I love, the support.
Yeah.
Everybody wants everybody to win. Everybody is spiritual at some, not everybody's spiritual, but like everybody's kind of dabble into spirituality, which is, I think it's great. I don't really view myself as very spiritual, but I'm like all about whatever. Like I'm really like easygoing in that sense. I'm more about like whatever works for me. Like
Yeah.
you know, because like I mean that could be another topic, right? Because like spirituality, whatever, meditating is not my thing.
Well, it's not mine either, and everyone seems to think that I have to do it, and I'm like,
but that's a whole other topic to talk about. You know?
Maybe on the next one.
Yeah, but yeah.
For today, I think we've done good.
It's just really building that relationship with self by starting with being really honest about yourself, acknowledging your good and bad traits, working on your self-awareness, body awareness, because your body does tell a lot.
We accomplished a lot.
We did.
That was a good talk.
That was a good talk, yeah.
We did good. Yeah. All right. And until next time, I think we've covered connecting with self and what that looks like. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.